Hi, I'm Wendy Yi, and today I have a rapid fire roundup for you. So these are games that have been reviewed already on the Dice Tower, but I wasn't a part of those reviews, and I've had the great opportunity to play them. So therefore, I'm going to share with you my scores and my thoughts on them, and I'm not going to do a real overview or anything like that. We're just going to hit these up pretty rapidly. So there you go, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so starting off in kind of a random order, the first game on my list is Spooktacular. And this one, I understand why people really enjoy this game. There is a ton of theme involved. Everyone has these individual player powers that you feel like a different character. You're doing different things. So I really understand why people love this game. Totally get it. It's not for me. So this one I felt like was just fine. Maybe it's because I played with a large group of people, but I definitely felt like it lagged a little bit between turns. Some people I felt like had these turns that they're like, oh, I'm doing this. And then my ability was like, I put out this and this and I take these. And so I feel like there's a little bit of unevenness there. And just really playing in a larger player count, just not ideal. But that's the way it is with a lot of games. But for me, really, I think that the theme is super there. And if you love this idea of a game, go for it. But for me, this one's a 6. Next on my list is Pergola. Now this is just a very cozy point salad-y-esque game where you are putting stuff in your little pergola and garden area and just everything is worth points. And so it's nice. I personally like those kind of games. I know people have issues with those, but I'm happy with them. This one is nice. I do have issues, however, with the fact that there is no lid for the tray. And so all those nice pieces in there, as soon as we store it vertically, are just a hot mess. So I actually had to get rid of the tray for the Dice Tower copy, and we have just a bunch of our little like bowls and stuff. Which I think ruins the aesthetic a little bit, but also the compartments with the little pieces were a little hard to get your fingers in as well. So tiny pieces, it's all production stuff. That's not a huge deal. But it's just kind of like, why? Why did we make this mistake? We made a beautiful game. We had an insert. Why not make it actually functionable? Other than that, I do think the game is fun. I like the theme. I'm growing a garden now. So I think that it's very lovely and it makes me happy. So this one I'm giving a 7. All right, on to Core of Discovery. This is the next game on my list. And this is one that I've heard people say, ooh, I really love the deduction, but I don't like the survival. And I can imagine that people that really enjoy Robinson Crusoe kind of games are like, ooh, I love the survival. The deduction, maybe not so much. For me, I enjoyed both. And I could see that the stress of the survival does make it so that the deduction is a little bit more necessary. Or I don't know if necessary is the right word, but you could have these moments where you're like, I must find water. If I don't find water, we just lose. And so even though you could eventually deduce that there's water, because you have that time sensitiveness and because you have the specific quests that remove water or need mud or whatever, they create a tension that kind of could pull you away from just the fun of deduction. So I could see why people like it or don't like it. I personally enjoy both. I think that it adds a nice theme to it. It adds a sense of tension, which some deduction games I really enjoy, but they don't have that tension. So I could go either way, but I did enjoy this and I think that it's fun. So I'm going to give it a 7.5. Four Shuffle Dartmoor is next on my list, and this is one that I've played at Four Shuffle a couple times, and now I've played this, and to me, they're very much feel like the same game. And what I've heard from a lot of people is that they are, like you can kind of just pick one, you don't need both. But I've also heard that it's very balancing, and so a lot of the stuff that was learned from all the expansions in regular Four Shuffle, this one kind of creates that balance and fixes some of the stuff that needed to be fixed. So there you go. I don't actually have an opinion on that because I haven't played enough of either to feel like I needed that. But this gives me all the same feels of Four Shuffle. I really enjoy that you have any engine that you can build. You know, I mean, you can tuck whatever cards you want around those trees, and they all score differently and they all have a different purpose. And so I think my only negative is probably just that at the beginning, you don't know what you're doing because you have so many cards and they could lead to so many different engines, but you don't really have a lot of one thing or a lot of another thing. And so I think you just kind of have to pick something and go with it. And if they come out, they come out. If they don't, then maybe you should pivot and try something else. But I do just really enjoy building up that landscape, building up the cool synergies of the engine. And whether or not I win, it doesn't matter because I built something cool. So for me, this is an 8 because I love both versions of the game. Next on my list is Railroad Tiles. Now this one is like a light tile laying game, very Carcassonne-esque in the sense that you're building and connecting roads to roads and trying to get all the pieces that you put out, like the squares, to match all the right edges. But instead of in Carcassonne, you're building your own little tableau. You're building your own little town of railroad connections and road connections and, building up little cities. I feel like this game was pretty slight. I didn't feel like there was a lot to it, and honestly, I wish there was a little bit more. The most interesting scoring to me is the placing out of the meeples on the roads and then the little trains on the train tracks. But I feel like even that scoring was not that interesting because it was hard to make it really punchy. You get one little token around. You get one little meeple around. And so I didn't find it to be like an exciting game. It didn't have all the cool feels that I want in my tile laying games. So it's fine. Would I play it again? Sure, if you really wanted to. But this one I'm going to give a 6.5 because I like it, but I don't love it. And it's so close to being a good game. It's totally fine. But it's just not quite there. And I really wanted something a little bit more from it. All right, so next on my list is Toy Battle. Now, this is a game that by the time I got around to playing it, which wasn't that far after it came out, Chris had already played 50 games on Board Game Arena, and he was just demolishing me. And I think typically I don't like two-player head-to-head games. And so to me, I was like, oh, I don't think I'm going to like this. But it really has grown on me. I think that it is super cool that they have a ton of different maps. They all feel different. You have games where you can revive some of your characters that you lose. You have games where you lose powers if you're in certain middle key areas, so you can't use those 1-2 punch moments. There's just some really cool stuff that goes on with these different maps. The other thing I think is very, very good about development on this is that every single one of those tiles feels extremely balanced. So when someone says you have to discard a tile from your hand and you're like, whew, I don't want to get rid of any of these. They're all good and they all have their moment where they can be really strong. And so I think that they did a fabulous job. All the maps, all the tiles, all the balancing. This is great. And also, if you're really bad at it like I am and you have someone who's freaking amazing, or you're playing with a kid or something like that, because I'm a child. And what I like about that is that you can just kind of balance it out. So I played a game where Chris drew one tile and I drew 3 at the beginning and I had an advantage and I won and it was exciting, even though it was still really neck to neck. So you can balance things out. You can try your own variations. I think there's some cool stuff you can do there to play with someone who's maybe not as good as you are. So there you go. I'm going to give this one an 8. I think Toy Battle is a success. Last on my list is Up or Down. So this one is one of those games that I feel like you can have a conversation and enjoy the people around you while playing. And I like to have those occasionally in my collection because I feel like gaming is fabulous. If I get down and I crunch and I think about games, I love that. And I love it so much. But I also just enjoy those games where I can hang out with the people that I'm playing with and we don't have to crazy hyper think about the game. And this is one of those. So basically you're placing a number in between 2 other numbers and collecting one of those numbers that you placed in between of. That was not confusing. But then you're placing it into little stacks in front of you. You have 3 stacks and some are moving up, some are moving down. And you don't want to bust because if you can't play a card in any one of the stacks, that sucks. And then you push them over to the side and they're just 1 point each instead of a cool multiplier point thing. So I think that this is it's just nice. It's cozy. It's one of those games that has some cool thinkiness to it because as you play a card down, that card stays there and it will be a future card, but it's not going to be a card that you have access to right away because everybody else is going to take a turn and potentially grab that card. And so as you play it down, it's kind of a multi-step process to get it back into your tableau if you want it there. And you're trying to read the other opponents as well to be like, I see you need low cards. I'm not going to play a low card. I'm going to play a high card. Okay, that's really advanced. I probably don't play that way, but somebody could if they're really good at this. So anyways, Up or Down, I think it's a very cool game. You can get as into it as you want to when it comes to thinking ahead and strategizing, or you can just play a cozy game like I prefer it, where you just hang out and talk with people and you play a game. So there you go. I'm going to give that one an 8. So that is all the games on my list for today. Thanks for joining me. And it's been a while since my last rapid fire roundup, so I'm glad I got to be here today with you all. So take care. I'm Wendy Yi. This is the Dice Tower, and keep playing games, especially those new cool ones.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Bassel.